So your Kundalini woke up, or you're in your dark night of the soul, or both. So now what do you do? Or maybe you've been practicing deep seeking through meditation or other practices, and you found that instead of great bliss, it's opened the deepest, darkest parts of you. Awakening is an awareness and a purification process, and it's time to face that both light and dark exist within us. Our psyche and shadow are revealed. While this can be a disturbing process, it's not to be as feared as one might think, and it's more common than one might think. Whether you were seeking an experience of transcendence or it took you by surprise, how you feel about it will make all the difference. There's no easy fix to this process. I've included some quotes in books by great teachers and mystics, some having been through their own dark night awakening. I've provided a nice mix of perspectives. Some maybe you heard of, some maybe you haven't, maybe some you like, and maybe some you don't. This is from Teal Swan. Let the dark night take you like a riptide. Pour a cup of tea for every one of your demons as quickly as they show up. It will not be a graceful process, but perhaps there's a special kind of grace in the disorganized chaos of a breakdown. It's pretty much a consensus overall that you just have to let the process take its course. There are things we can do to help ease any discomfort, which I've covered in other videos, and as always, if you're experiencing severe mental or physical symptoms, seek the help that you need. There's no right or wrong or one size that fits. I always like to mention that there are licensed therapists that are also spiritually based. You just might have to do a little digging. A way to tell if you do need professional help is if you can't manage the symptoms on your own and you're unable to function in everyday life, and if you're feeling out of touch with reality. This quote is from Adiashanti. Enlightenment is a destructive process. It has nothing to do with being better or becoming happier. It's the crumbling away of untruth. It's seeing through the facade of pretense. Years ago, I briefly worked with a spiritual advisor that helped me understand what was happening to me. While it's a comfort gaining understanding, it won't lessen the symptoms, but we do learn better how to manage them as best as we can while not trying to control it, back it up, or race it forward. It takes patience and fortitude. Regarding the Kundalini, Sadhguru states that Kundalini is that treasure within you that's been left unused, untapped. You can use that energy to transform this into a completely different dimension altogether, a dimension that you cannot imagine. If you've recently found yourself in this process, or it sounds like what might be happening to you, the first thing is to gain an understanding and then feel into what resonates for you. What seems like a harsh awakening has been happening for a very long time. In the 1500s, a Spanish priest and mystic, St. John of the Cross, wrote a poem that became a book titled The Dark Night of the Soul. The poem describes his painful experience required to attain spiritual maturity and union with God. Since then, many other books have been written, and especially recently, many videos have been shared regarding the dark night and Kundalini activation. It's different for each person, the duration and intensity of the experience. For some, it's unleashed due to a traumatic event such as loss, illness, failure, or betrayal that propels us into the dark night. Once we have this event, our awareness and reality shifts, and we see everything differently. We might also have experiences of great bliss, but it's usually not permanent, and the ego is not erased as some might think or strive for. But we do see it for what it is, and in this regard, it will change as we gain more control over our emotions, working towards an equilibrium or balance. Another quote from Adiashanti is, "The biggest barrier to awakening is the belief that it is something rare." Michael Murdad, a spiritual teacher from Sedona, has written many books and has tons of videos on YouTube regarding the awakening process, including the dark night of the soul. If you're in the throes of your experience right now, I know how hard and confusing it can be. But many believe that this process is preordained. Our purpose in this lifetime is to wake up and assist with the great shift to a heightened awareness for humanity. It's a soul-dictated process, and once it's been initiated, I would recommend not fighting it and not going into resistance, as it's happening for a reason, and it will only delay the process and make it harder. As Michael Murdad puts it, you want to die well, as it is a death of the fake persona to a true self. Awakening is the recognition and awareness that we've been living a life that's not in congruence with our true self and not in congruence with our soul mission of what we wanted to accomplish. You might feel angry and want to go back to the life you had, where it seemed easy or being unaware, but I think you'll find there's something stronger that will nudge you to continue. At some point, we discover abilities we weren't previously aware of. You may have a healing ability or an active stream of consciousness that activates when you're in meditation or writing or in nature. You may see things that most can't see with the physical eye. This happens beyond the 5 senses, where we're always connected. Don't think you're crazy when you experience these or other abilities. They're natural, although some will try and tell you otherwise, that it's just your mind tricking you or you're making it up. There are enough people that have come forward and are sharing and talking about all the facets of awakening, too many to deny or dismiss it as delusion. This quote is from Deepak Chopra. We must go beyond the constant clamoring of the ego, beyond the tools of logic and reason, to the still, calm place within us, the realm of the soul. It doesn't matter what anyone says about reality, logic, or reason. We use these important abilities for our everyday material existence, but they don't understand beyond that because they haven't had the experience, and maybe they won't. Not everyone does. They don't understand, so let them go their way and stay in their reality, and you go your way with your reality. Have trust in yourself and the process. Even those that needed or were forced to get traditional help, some with medication, come out of that experience and continue on the path, becoming spiritual teachers. Read Eckhart Tolle's book, Power of Now, as an example. Eckhart states that the dark night of the soul is the collapse of a perceived meaning in life, an eruption into your life of a deep sense of meaninglessness. It results in a dark place, but then you emerge into a transformed state of consciousness. It's a kind of rebirth. This quote is from Charles Eisenstein. Real change doesn't come without crisis. I think that's happening with humanity now. Our growth has generated multiple crises, and these are the contractions that are propelling us into a new world. Amazing things can happen during this process, and even people in it will try and explain things away, saying it's a mental aberration or psychosis. But psychosis is typically just a temporary occurrence for most, while some don't experience it at all. Maybe it's similar to taking ayahuasca or some other hallucinogenic that lasts only a brief duration, but it's very powerful. We can experience the supernatural, the metaphysical, synchronicities, and it won't be believed by some. There's so much more beyond this physical experience, and your awakening will be proof of that. This last quote is from author Jed McKenna. No one can follow another's path. No one can lead another. No one can turn back. No one can stop. Ultimately, this experience will be as you perceive it, whether good or bad, sane or insane, spiritual or not. It's all up to you.